Hi, this is Olaf. This year I'm turning 50. I'm training hard to get back on the podium at one of the Ironman World Championships this year. We are now 3 weeks away from Ironman World Championships in St. George. It's Easter weekend, and I think it's time to talk a little bit about the pros and what I think they can do at the Ironman World Championships, as well as also sharing a bit who I'm following and what I think of those super strong girls and boys. This is episode 10 of my journey to the Ironman World Championships in Kona and St. George 2022. All right, so we are 3 weeks out from the World Championships in St. George. I thought it would be a great topic to talk a little bit about the pros. So first of all, I would like to say that I'm in full admiration of these guys. They have abilities that are far beyond mine and far beyond of what I ever could have done, even if I had done the sport seriously in the past. So I'm, whether it's the guys or the girls, when I was at the top, I don't think there was a single race where there wasn't a pro girl that beat me. So, again, I'm in full admiration, but what's great is that we can all have an opinion. Today I would like to have a discussion about the pros at the Ironman World Championships in St. George. I'll tell you also a little bit what I think about them or who I follow and who I like and why. And so let's start. All right, let's talk now about the pro woman. And here, again, quite a few names, unfortunately, or at least one huge name who hasn't been able to qualify due to injury, which is Lucy Charles-Barclay. She's obviously a rising star. She finished second several times at the Ironman World Championships in Kona. She won the 70.3 World Championships for the first time last year, so she was that was supposed to be her year, but she has a stress fracture in the hip and so won't be able to compete. So that's a big downer, because she always swims so fast that people then really have to push to chase her, and it's making the race definitely interesting and sort of dictates how the race dynamics typically are. So Flora Duffy was invited, but she declined. Who else do we have? We have Miranda Carfrae, who's coming back after a second child, but probably unlikely she'll be able to be sort of really at the top. We have Sarah Crawley, who has done pretty well in the past for the long distances, so a bit of an unknown here. Then we have a few Germans. Anne Haug, who's obviously the reigning world champion. She finished second to Kat Matthews in the 70.3, where she got pretty much destroyed she lost quite a bit on the bike. So, but she's definitely a super runner. She's sort of done she will be good for the long distance. So she's definitely one of my favorites as well. We have Laura Philipp, who has sort of had the world best 70.3 time. I think it was in Dubai. I like her really a lot. She did fantastic race. She had injury last year, then she came back at the end of the season. She did a fantastic race with the super time already on the Ironman. She seems to be fit. She's hungry, and between her and Anne Haug, I think Laura Philipp is my favorite actually to win it overall. And even nicer because they will mean a German, at least in one of the two races, will be on the top of the podium. She also doesn't communicate super well, but she seems to be really a nice person. She's sort of also coached by one of the star trainers in Germany, and would really like to see her succeed. Then we have Daniela Rief, and here also it's a bit difficult. So she used to train with Brett Sutton. So Brett Sutton is a super successful coach, but he's I think from what I understand quite a bit of a not a dictator, but he's a hard coach. And I think it's very difficult to find your rhythm once you leave a coach like that, who is always putting you sort of on your toes, always making you do stuff that you don't really expect, and makes you train pretty hard, which you need for Ironman. But to me it seems that Daniela hasn't found the right training since sort of she left him. I heard in a podcast that also she was still struggling from some type of long-term COVID, so maybe that's also might be a reason. I don't see her, to be honest, sort of challenging for the win. I hope that she comes back to her best. But at the moment, I don't really see it. She's not a very public figure. She so again, as a fan, sort of difficult to really root for her. She always sort of came out to share that that she was lesbian, etc. Which I find is great. But she's typically one of those athletes where it's difficult to sort of really click with her, because she's not putting that much on social media or not sharing that much, or if it's shared, it's typically done by sponsored and super managed, and sort of difficult to really see what's behind. At least that's my that is my impression. You have a few other. There's another German, Laura Zimmermann, but I also don't think she will be there for the top places. So Kat Matthews has to be one of the favorites after she beat Anna Haug at one of the 70.3s. And then you have some other names like Meredith Kessler. You have Heather Jackson, which has done really well in the past at the long distances and in Kona. So this might also, given the difficulty of the course, this might something where if she's well prepared, she can do well in the shorter distances. She pretty much got her ass kicked pretty nicely. But for the long distance, I think there's a chance for her as well. So so for me, the ones who really have sort of what it takes to win it, I would say Anne Haug from Germany. It's Kat Matthews from the UK. It's again Laura Philipp from Germany. Those are really my top picks for the woman at this stage. Alright, so for the pro man, first of all, obviously quite a bummer. There are quite a few of them, big names, who will not be there. So first of all is obviously defending world champion Jan Frodeno. So I love Jan because he's German, so definitely rubs, or feeling good for Germany when he wins. um, and he's been really dominant. He's been very smart, not racing too much. Now, to say that he's the greatest triathlete of all time, he's a GOAT. For me, it's a little bit of a question mark. He's definitely the greatest Ironman of all time. In what we have, or even that, is that really the case? He has won Kona 3 times, as you know. Scott and Alan, they have won it each 6. He was definitely not dominant as a Olympic distance. He won the Olympics once, sure, but he was definitely not dominant in all his races or when he was racing as the Olympic distance. So obviously my head off is to him. Again, I love him. He's amazing, the performances that he has done. I believe he is one of the all-time greats. He is fantastic with what he has been able to achieve in Kona, and he has been absolutely dominant the last few years. Sometimes a bit too dominant, also the kind of guy who always says the right things in interviews, etc. So you're not getting that much info also what he's going through. So as a fan, I think it's he's not the greatest guy, because you don't really sort of know what he's going through and what's actually happening with him, etc. So we learned pretty late that he's actually injured, so he's not going to come to St. George, so that's obviously a bummer. The second one who's not going to be there is Patrick Lange. So Patrick Lange is a bit of a special guy. I don't know. So some of you have followed him. He's very emotional. Sort of crying when he arrived or after the finish in Kona. So a bit weird. After he broke the 8 hours, he proposed to his girlfriend. But I've come to really like this guy. He recently wrote a book in German that's very honest, I find. He talks about a couple of days before his races, even when he won the World Championships, not wanting to race, being in total panic, thinking he was a failure, etc. So nice for somebody at that level to open up to these things, to show that they are human, and and that you don't have sort of to have the mindset of having zero doubts, etc., in order to be successful. So I'm a huge fan. It's obviously a fantastic run. I would have loved to see what he was able to do in St. George, but unfortunately he's also injured, fell off the bike. One of my 3 priorities of things that you shouldn't be doing before a race, and so he's not there. But I like him, I follow him, and I really think he's a great guy. Then let's move over to Lionel Sanders. Lionel, super present. Didn't used to be the most mature guy in terms of what he was doing in terms of training. I think he's the first one to admit that. But as a fan, fantastic, because he's so open of what he's going through, of the process. Great to follow as a competitor. And recently he has done some, pretty amazing races, good results. He hasn't won them all, but definitely had fantastic sprint finishes, has been fighting in races. He's now finally having a coach, the brother of Gustav Even, from what I understand, coaches him. And so I do believe that he has a real chance of winning. I would love for him to win. He's also can be quite emotional, and again, he's very open about what he does, etc. Love to follow him, and so hope to see him at the very top. And I think he has the potential to win this race, because it's a long one, and so let's see what's gonna happen. And we obviously have the Norwegian guys, Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden, who apparently are really training fantastically, or with the latest methods, etc. A lot of the stuff that they do, others have done already before, but I think they've, because of the Olympic preparation, which is really driven by the federation and also in a very structured way, they really seem to have done a lot of things right. Pretty amazing, as you know, how these guys who really train sort of for the short distance have been able to do super well in middle and long distance. So it's a first for them to really do a Ironman World Championship. It will be great to see what they do. Probably my guess is that Gustav might be even better on the longer distance. Yeah, I like those guys. They are young, they are hungry, they are confident. So yeah, it will be great to see what happens, and they do both, I feel, have the potential to win it. Another one maybe not spoken so much about is Daniel Bekkegaard. I also think he has sort of a top 5 potential, and I also like his attitude and what he's been doing. Then I wanted to talk briefly about Alistair Brownlee. So he's double Olympic champion. And for me, it feels a little bit that he doesn't want it bad enough anymore. He's obviously he had, for the Olympics, he must have been training for 8 years, super consistently, super focused, and to me it seems that he doesn't really have his eye on the ball anymore. He's he is one of the greatest triathletes with his double back-to-back Olympic wins. So whether it was injuries at some time, whether it was just overpacing, but to me it seems that he's not really focused and wanting it bad enough to be world champion again. Maybe he can prove me wrong, but that's sort of the vibe that I'm getting from him. Then who else do we have in the list? There are a few names there. Matt Hansen, great runner. Xavier Gomez will be seen. I think he has changed coach, so he might be up to a different level. Obviously, if he gets his stuff right and can run well, he can also be there with the very top. So yeah, he could be one of the outsiders to do really well. There are some other Germans, Andreas Dreitz and Florian Angert, but don't think they have what it takes to be sort of number one. Who else is in there? Sebastian Kienle, he has announced that he will actually sort of retire end of next year, which to me makes sort of not that much sense. But maybe he needed that. But I think also his mindset is that he's a bit fed up with it, so he's willing to push a little bit more. But I don't think I love the guy, he's so all the respect in the world. I think he's one of the model athletes that we have in triathlon. Yes, but I don't think, again, his mindset is where it should be in order to win a world championship. I wish it for him and hope that he can get sort of close to the podium, but again, I don't sort of feel that he's really there. Then we have Sam Long. So Sam Long, I think, has a real chance also to be up there. So I consider he's obviously cocky. Young, tall, American, loud, but yeah, he has proven that he's super strong. He has done some fantastic results, and he has the mindset of just wanting to push it. And if again, things are also going to depend on the race dynamics, but if he pushes it well, and he's sort of in a good one, he can really finish all the way up there. Is he strong enough yet to really run it home against the strongest runners? That's sort of a question mark, because this race is gonna be decided on the run, and it's a long race. But I think he's one of the guys who could make a surprise, and so yeah, I I like the attitude. I like what he brings to the sport. I do follow him, and so yeah, let's see what he. He's not my favorite athlete, but I definitely like what he brings to the sport. Who else do we have then? We have Joe Skipper also, who has been quite vocal recently in stirring up some shit against the Norwegians. But yeah, I also don't think he has what it takes to really finish number one. And then we have Cameron Worth, Michael Weiss, Tim Van Berkel from Australia. But I also do not think that they really have what it takes to finish number one now. It's difficult to see, obviously make a prediction. It really is going to depend on, since it's so early. So the race is so early in the season that we don't have a lot of pointers where people really are. And some people are going to be at 100% for this race, and if they have done a super preparation, it's just difficult or not really possible to know. So we might be in for a surprise. Maybe some of the French guys are gonna finish on top. They've had some good results in the past. We have a few here who are qualified. There's Kevin Portman. There is Arnaud Guillou. There's Léon Chevalier and Denis Chevreau. So probably those last two have a sort of higher chances. At least I know them by name. But I think the top favorites to me are still Sam Long, Lionel Sanders, Gustav Iden, and Javier Gomez. I would put Christian Blumenfeld also on there if he doesn't get a flat. But those are really my top guys. There are 51 qualifiers in total, and really quite excited to see what they can do. So this is my thoughts on the pro men. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Give me some ideas for my next episodes. Ask me some questions. Give me some thoughts about what I shared this time. Click the subscribe, like it, and again, thanks so much for being on the journey. As I mentioned before, it helps me really a lot staying focused on what is the most important. So stay tuned, and I'll let you know how it's going soon.